Welcome to 100 Yards of Football this morning. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I surely appreciate it here on 100 Yards of Football. Today, the history special. In a moment in the National Football League, we're going to go back to 1969, January the 12th. And everyone knows that day is the guarantee by a gentleman out of Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, Joe Namath, as he led the New York Jets over the Baltimore Colts in Super Bowl III with a 16-7 victory. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it. We'll surely appreciate it here at 100 Yards Football. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. I'd like to give kudos to my team here at 100 Yards Football, Mr. Jeremiah Long, who's making it happen this morning here as the producer. Mr. Bobby Butler, 12-year veteran, first-round draft pick out of the 1981 NFL Draft. To Mr. Ronnie Keebler, Brooklyn, New York's finest, and to Mr. Logan Landers, thank you, and to Mr. Mar Denham. But before I talk about this great moment, this great game that Joe Namath, the young man out of Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, did that day, I got a special guest joining me this morning. This young man comes out of Las Vegas, Nevada. He's got one of the hottest podcasts that's going out there. It's called Way Past Due. The young man has also been a sports writer for several publications throughout the Southwest. He also has another podcast. It's called Hall of Fame of College Football, where he covers the SEC, the Big 12, and the Colorado Buffaloes. Sounds familiar? They got a new coach up there by the name of Deion Sanders. So I'm going to bring him up live out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Woo! Mr. Jason Watkins. How you doing this morning here on 100 Yards Football, sir? How you doing?
I'm doing great, Vincent. Thanks a lot for having me on your show. I'm a big fan of it. Big fan of the show.
Okay, we're going to get right to it. One more time. If you like the video, please come in and share. We surely appreciate it here at 100 Yards Football. Mr. Watkins, what's your opinion? What's your thinking of that moment going back to January the 12th, 1969 when Joe Namath came out and led the upstart AFL over the power Baltimore Colts in a 16-7 victory?
You were talking about the Way Past Due campaign that we work on for Otis Taylor, and in the last year, I've really gotten to where I've studied so much about the AFL during that merger era because that's when Otis played. And what you have come to find out is that there's so many people that feel like, especially at that time, it was an inferior league. It was such an inferior league, and the first two Super Bowls didn't do anything to help as far as that was concerned, because you had the Green Bay Packers roll over the Chiefs 35-10 and then just batter up the Raiders too, 33-14. So coming into the game, particularly going up against a team like the Colts, that they were beating teams by an average of 18 points per game, which is still a Super Bowl era record. And so most people were calling them the greatest team ever assembled, even with Johnny U on the bench, with him being hurt for all the year. The guy that came in to back him up ended up winning the NFL MVP award. So, it didn't look good for these guys, but Joe Willie Namath, Broadway Joe, came out and just, they had put together a season where they were up and down a little bit at first, but by the time they got up against the Raiders at the end of the year, they were as good as anybody. And I think that they were so confident in what they were doing at that point that all they kept hearing leading up to the game was how they were going to get crushed. And I think they knew, though, that how important this was for the league. If they were ever going to be considered on an equal playing field, they were going to have to win one of these things. And so I think that probably the entire AFL breathed a sigh of relief whenever they came out and did what they did, because the defense shut down Baltimore in the first half, and all the way to the fourth quarter when Johnny Unitas came in place of Earl Morrall, who was the NFL MVP, like I said, and he led their only touchdown drive. But you had an amazing game by the defense, particularly of the Jets. Obviously, Namath had a decent game, but really and he was named the Super Bowl MVP, but the real MVP was probably Matt Snell, who had 121 yards on 30 carries and also had 40 yards on 4 receptions too. So they controlled the game all the way throughout. And good for him that he was able to make that prediction, because he had talked a lot of smack after the game, after the AFC or the AFL championship, saying that he named 5 quarterbacks that he thought threw better than Morrill did. So, to me, I think it was very important, though, for the AFL. I really do. And the more I look at it, we were talking about the whole deal with Otis Taylor, and you really you still have a lot of people that subscribe to that inferiority theory. And the truth is, they ended up winning 4 out of the first 8 Super Bowls, 2 out of the first 4. So had they not done that, though, what happens if they don't win this one? What happens moving on,
When I think about this game, first of all, I was an 8-year-old back in my hometown in 901, Memphis, Tennessee. And I think about that game being played, and my father had just brought a new Philco television set. So we were sitting up there as my father, uncles, my sisters. They were just running around at the time. And the thing I took from the game was that how much, as you said, Jason, how everybody just picked the Baltimore Colts. They were 18-point favorite. They had the superstars on the side of the ball, as you mentioned, Jason, Earl Moss, MVP. But just how the commentary was talking about the Baltimore's defense, Bubba Smith, Mike Curtis, Rick Vaught. And then he was talking about the running back, Tom Matty. And it was just like the Jets weren't there. But what I liked about it all was, see, New York City is a different type of city. And Joe Namath was that perfect guy at that time. The chinchilla coat, neon lights. That was Joe Namath. And my picture was him sitting at the pool side, sipping on that vodka. Then being down Miami Touchdown Club when one of the Baltimore Colts sports writers hollered out, "Hey, Joe Willie, the Colts gonna kick y'all ass this weekend." And then Joe Namath said, "You know what? You can write it down. You can send it over to Africa. You can send it over in the universe. The New York Jets will beat the Baltimore Colts on Sunday." And when the game started, what I looked at is that Joe Namath, he only had 208 yards passing the game. But you brought up another good point, Jason. Matt Snell could have easily been MVP.
Sure.
And that running game, 121 yards on the Baltimore Colts defense. And then George Sauer, the wide receiver out of the Eyes of Texas, 8 receptions, 133 yards, because Baltimore had kind of geared their defense to shut down Don Maynard, who's the fastest player on the team, who's averaging with 20-some yards in the playoffs, in the AFL playoffs. But when you look at all that, it was a collective of stars. Johnny Sample interception on the goal line. Then think about the coaching job of Wee Eubank. And man, after the game, all you can see is Joe Namath running off the field with this number 1 hand. Then being in the dressing room. And he said it. He said that, hey, this was the start of the Super Bowl. Because as you just said, Jason, with Green Bay winning the first 2 games, they didn't even consider the Super Bowl. But what I looked at is this. After Joe Namath's guarantee and that Jets team winning that game, it kind of put the AFL on the map. And it kind of said it like this to me: Buck Buchanan, Kansas City, Grambling University, Lance Allworth, the San Diego Chargers, Pig Sooie, George Webster, South Carolina, Michigan State, the Houston Oilers, Woody Brown, Grambling, quarterback, Oakland Raiders. It said the AFL has arrived. Holla, party. As when you just said, winners of the first 4 out of the 8 Super Bowls.
That's
And it
right.
started the dynasty of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Man, that was a great time because the NFL had looked at the AFL as kind of disrespectful because the brand of football, the AFL
I
was putting
kind of completely disrespectful.
the ball up in the air with Joe Namath, Dale
That's
and
right.
Monica. Well, over in the other league, they was running the football with Ron Johnson, Willie Ellison, John Brockington. But hey, man, I think the greatest Super Bowl as far as predictions, and this young man right here, Joe Namath, like I said, neon lights on Broadway, the lights shine brighter. Final words on the guarantee of Super Bowl III, Mr. Jason Watkins.
Like I said, I think it was great. I think that it established the fact that we had 2 leagues now, and when they merged that next year, and Otis Taylor scored the game winning touchdown there, and that was back to back big upsets. They had to be reckoned with as a real league now, because of what started with Joe Willie Namath and these Jets, and then what turned around and ended up happening a year later. And we're talking about the 4 out of the first 8 were actual original AFL franchises, not just the Steelers. The Steelers did their thing after that, but original AFL franchises won 4 out of the first 8, and I think that's huge.
My final words, I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Jason Watkins for today being here on 100 Yards Football. Again, thank you to my team here at 100 Yards Football, my producer, Mr. Jeremiah Long, because I want to say if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have a glorious morning talking about the guarantee with an outstanding guest coming to us out of Las Vegas, Nevada. When I think about this game, of course, it changed the course of football because it put a new upstart league with stars, as Mr. Watkins just said, Otis Taylor, Lenny Dawson, Dale LaMonica, Warren Wells, then, of course, Joe Namath. And it put that new league on another level, as we say, respect. So when I break it all down, and New York being the media darling of the United States, because if you're a star in New York, man, your money as far as advertisement and marketing goes to another level. And I remember after the game, Joe Namath winning that Super Bowl in that beautiful chinchilla coat. A white guy rocking it like a brother. And all the New York crowds and all the females. To me, Joe Namath was that first major superstar, then a good-looking guy. Because after about 4 months, remember, he did the movie CC Rider. But the most thing I take from Joe Namath and winning Super Bowl III is this group called Steppenwolf. They had a song called Born to Be Wild. Get your motor running. Head out on the highway. Looking for adventure. And what comes your way? Joe Namath, his prediction set the National Football League in a focus from an AFL standpoint. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it. I surely appreciate here 100 Yards Football. Once again, thank you to our guest, Mr. Jason Watkins, coming live out of Las Vegas, Nevada. That's right. He's 3 hours behind, but we surely appreciate him being here today on 100 Yards Football. And to my family, my team, Jeremiah Long, one more time, man, thank you. Mr. Ronnie Keebler, you know my love for you. BK in the house, Brooklyn, New York. Mr. Bobby Butler, first-round draft choice in the 1981 NFL draft out of Florida State University, who set the tone. And then, of course, Mr. Logan Landis. I want to say thank you, man. The hard work you did over the last year, I surely appreciate it. And to Mr. Mark Denham, thank you for all your wisdom and kind words. And to my family of the 901, Memphis, Tennessee, to my family, Chicago, Illinois, to my family, Nashville, Tennessee, we are 100 Yards of Football. Stay strong.